Hey, welcome back to the Happy Place Diaries. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things that you might not think about, but you should consider. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to the Happy Place Diaries. We are camping this week out in beautiful Central Oregon with our friends Tom and Jen. And you guys have seen them in other videos in passing, but we were just sitting around talking about camping in general, and Tom here came up with a great idea for a video, and no great idea goes unpunished.
Now I'm in a video.
So now he has to be in the video. So we're going to talk about 5 things that you might not think about, but you should consider when you're out on a trip or you are planning a trip. So the first one came to us, we were inspired tonight by this little dog over here, Buster, also known as Wellington, or Fluffernutter, or what do you guys call him?
Mr. Lover.
Mr.
You're not going to do the whole thing?
Go ahead.
It's Buster, Mr. Lover.
All right, so Buster here is dealing with some eye issues, and when we went on our big trip last summer, you know, we ran into some issues with this little one here, being afraid of, you know, fireworks and thunder and lightning. And so one of the things that you might not think about, but you should consider, is how we're taking care of our pets while we're out on the road and while we're in campgrounds. And we're down here in Central Oregon, and the farm across the way from us here was doing some, I don't know, mole hunting or something today, and she's still kind of shaking about it, even though we gave her pills. So some of the things that you need to consider is, you know, where's the nearest vet? You want to talk about your vet emergency the other night?
Buster last week had an ulcer in his eye, and we took him to the vet before we went. We told him what we were doing, and they're like, shouldn't be a problem. Here's the antibiotics. If he has any problems, you're probably going to want to take him to a vet. Okay, you know, we weren't expecting it. You know, normally he recovers from things pretty easy. Was it Saturday night?
Saturday
night, I went in to give him his medication, and his eye was just horrible. And so I run over here to Jerry's trailer, and I'm like, we need to take Buster to the vet. And it was like a huge panic. Okay, where's a 24-hour vet? Because it was like 10 o'clock at night and we were fortunate enough to be close to a vet that was open at midnight, but we just kind of got into the wire, and it got us to thinking that we've never ever considered traveling with our dogs. What happens if one of them gets hurt? And so something that we will definitely do from now on.
Yeah, you know, and that kind of goes with another one that we're going to talk about down the line here. But we're in Central Oregon. We're not from around here. Our vets aren't from around here. So what do you do? What is the plan if you have a veterinary emergency? And, you know, from the KOA that we're at to Bend is an hour?
It's 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Okay, so 40 minutes at night, you know, you know, things start, you start layering up the intensity level when you don't have a solid plan. And it's not, I'm not saying you guys, but it's something
We didn't
have a plan.
that you don't think about, but you should consider.
And it would have been an easy Google search at home when we knew that we were bringing him.
Right.
You know, hey, what's a vet that's in the area? We're probably going to need a 24-hour one just in case. And
Yeah. It was one of the pieces of advice that we got before our long trip, was to go to our vet and get a copy of their immunizations. And some campgrounds back east required them. So, you know, grabbing their immunizations and having your vet on speed dial so that you can knowing where you could pick up medications out on the road. Fortunately, 2020 you can, go to Walmart or, local CVS pharmacies and that kind of stuff. But it's definitely something that you should build into your travel plan. Okay, so number 2 on our list of things that you might not think about, but you should consider, is what are you going to do if you have a RV or a tow vehicle breakdown?
I mean, I would say, definitely have roadside assistance. One thing that's happened to us, you want to make sure that your roadside assistance is also going to cover your trailer, because not all roadside assistance is created equal.
That's correct. We had a minor breakdown. The very first year we had the trailer, and it turned out to be a dead battery on my tow vehicle. And the problem with having a tow vehicle travel trailer combo is when the tow vehicle's down, so is the trailer, because it just can't move by itself. And so the poor kid that came out to tow us was trying to figure out how to get a tow vehicle and the travel trailer and all that stuff, and we were dealing with our insurance, which thank God we've got, solid insurance.
The kid had a big tow truck.
Oh, he was prepared. He
Yeah,
just
he
didn't
was-
want to do the work.
Yeah.
And so he gave it a let's see if we could jump this thing one more time. And everything worked out for us. We went to the nearest Napa, got a new battery, and we were back on the road. But it was one of those things that we never thought would happen. We never thought a dead battery would leave us out on the middle of a highway, literally in the middle of nowhere, on an Indian reservation.
And luckily we had cell service.
Yeah,
because
we're going
it's
to talk
so-
about that in a sec.
When the very first time we pulled a hard-sided trailer, we were on our way to Wallowa, and we were in the windy parts, and the thermostat housing blew on our
Your
on
Explorer.
our Explorer. And first off, it was really a bad spot to break down, but it's where we ended up. We had no cell coverage. The roadside assistance that we had didn't cover a trailer, so we had difficulties there. We, by the luck of the draw, managed to find a tow truck that could do it, and they towed us into camp. But then the big question was, okay, we're in camp for what was it, 5 days? It was a 5-day trip. My car's broken. How am I going to get? I got to camp. The tow truck dropped us off. But if it's not something I can fix, what's our plan to get our trailer home? Because I just can't stay in a campground indefinitely.
Right.
So fortunately, it was something easy to fix, and I was able to fix it there.
And we had other people with us that,
Yeah.
that helped us.
But what was our backup plan to get our car home? Well, it was, we're going to have to put that in the shop and then rent a truck to take our trailer home, and then
Yeah.
they have to come back and get it. And so,
It's definitely something that you don't really think about. And as we become seasoned RVers, it's definitely things that we look at. What's our roadside assistance plans? What kind of insurance do we have? Are we members of clubs like Good Sam or AAA or, whatever? And so you start layering some of those things based on where you could get coverage also. If you're in the middle of Madras, does Good Sam matter? AAA might. Who knows? And then, is it a holiday situation where you're going to have to pay cash? So is that part of your plan? So just another one of those things that you really should consider, but it's something that we, just hook it up and assume everything's going to be great, and it's not always great. Hey, if you have other suggestions, make sure that you're following along and putting comments in the comment section below, because we'd really love to hear what some of your ideas and solutions are. Okay, number 3, we talked about our pets and how we handle their health care, but what happens when you get sick out on the road? And you look at the demographic of this channel, for example, we're not young, and so we definitely need to consider our health care when we're out on the road. And for me, speak strictly for me, my primary health care is through the VA. And so whenever we travel, I always look up where the nearest clinics are, where the nearest VA hospital is, because I can use the system no matter where we are. But again, if I'm in Central Oregon, I might have to drive all the way back to Portland, or I might have to go down to Bend or something. So I need to do my homework and figure out where the nearest emergency room is, not just VA, but any emergency room. Where is the nearest care provider that is going to take my insurance? So these are all things that you want to consider.
And it might not be in the closest town.
No, it might require you to drive, and it might be a situation like we're in right now, that my best healthcare option would be to drive the 2 hours back home. Thoughts?
I'd do it. I'd drive you back.
I'd just dig a hole.
Then we'll move on to number 3.
Number 4.
Or number 4. Number 4 on our list is a communication plan. And what we mean by communication plan is, how are you going to maintain coverage throughout your trip, so that if you do have an emergency, a breakdown, or a health emergency, how are you going to get a hold of friends and family back home? How are you going to get a hold of AAA or your insurance company? What is the cell coverage that you have in the area? What's the Wi-Fi coverage in your campground situation?
So Oregon State Parks have this really cool knack of, you could drive to the front gate and have 5 bars of coverage, and as soon as you cross over, it's dead.
That's right.
There's no cell coverage. And when you speak of getting a hold of people back home, when I think of it, I think of 911. What's your best option? Is
Right.
it getting a hold of a ranger? Is it just the getting outside and just driving until you can find something? And
Yeah, and I don't know that I would go so far as creating a map and plotting board and putting cell towers in, because depending on where you are coming across the mountain, you dial 911, it might be coming from the Dalles. It might be coming from a city that you're not even near, but that's where that tower is bouncing, your GPS location. If you're out by Frog Lake, you're going to end up in the Dalles if you call 911. And if you're in Madras, or if you're where we are, I don't know if they would go to Bend, or if they would go, back, to wherever the nearest 911 facility is. But I'm assuming, because the next big town is Bend.
Well, Redmond's pretty big.
Well, Redmond has a hospital, so
I would think Redmond would have it, but
yeah, I'm just saying,
it's good to know.
it's something that you need to consider, and watch that. And maybe that means that if you're in a remote part of the country, or you're going to be traveling through a remote part of the country, maybe you invest in a cell booster, so that you can boost that signal out so that you can reach out. And the other thing that we were discussing before we hit record was, if I know I'm driving through South Dakota, for example, and I know that there's not going to be coverage for the next 100 miles, before I get into that 100-mile stretch, I need to make sure that my vehicle is operating well, that I'm not going to have, I'm going to check my tires, make sure that I'm mitigating some of those risks, because once I get into that 100-mile box, I might be all alone, And that's also one of the things in our communication plan that Teresa and I kind of work into our plan is we don't travel at night when we're out on the road. Very seldom do we travel at night. If we do, it's a local campsite where we know traffic is going to be flowing through those major arteries that we're heading. But, you know, driving through Iowa at 10 o'clock at night might not be the best choice if you don't have a good communication plan. You might just be there till the morning, which I guess is the advantage of having an RV.
What's number 5, Jer?
Segues perfectly into number 5.
So number 5 is to think about your itinerary. And so all of these things are going to come into play when you sit down and you look at your itinerary. How far you're going to drive, when you're going to start driving, where you're going, you know, major arteries, major cities that you're going to pass through, minor cities that you're going to pass through. And so take into all these considerations when you're planning your itinerary. And maybe there's something along the way that you're going to stop and visit. You want to make sure that you can fit there. You know, if I'm pulling 52 feet of you know, truck and trailer, am I going to be able to get into that roadside attraction and get back out? You know, I think of the place that we've stopped to eat a couple times on the way back from the beach, the pie place.
Oh, Berry Palace.
Yeah, the Huckleberry place. Yeah, the one that's.
Yeah, there's nowhere to park. You know, so you end up parking on the side of the highway, or, you know, asking permission to park over at the baseball park or something. But it's a place that you like to go, but there's not always. So you have to plan for time of day of getting there. You don't want to get there. If you get there lunch hour on a Sunday, forget it. You're not going to park. Just keep driving till you get to Klatskanai. So,
Hey, if you don't know what the area is like, Google Earth is the best. Because I've done that several times when we were on our trip last year to say, hey, we're going to meet you at this mall, or we're going to meet you at this restaurant. And then I went and looked, and I'm like, oh, we can park over here by Kohl's.
I did that in Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and the other part of that is gas. You know your tank size, and know what your capacity and your ability to get from point A to point B, and so on. And we have a rule that we don't like to go over 3 hours or 300 miles. We'll stretch it out to 5 hours, depending on where we're going and how long we're going to be there. But driving 3 hours or 300 miles, that starts taking a toll on you. And the later you go in the day, that starts taking a toll on me. And so when we plan our itinerary, I plot that out at a 300 mile distance down the map and see where we're going to be. And if there's nothing, then maybe you do have to stop shorter or go just a little bit longer to make sure that you have a place to stay, places that you can refuel, food, you know, and all of these things. So taking into consideration communication, time traveled, distance traveled, and then what your overall plan is. If you're not really considering it and just saying, hop in the truck, let's go, you might be setting yourself up for failure down the road. So your itinerary is a huge issue. And what is the most important part of the itinerary?
That you can tell people where you're at. And if you make any major changes to that, you need to tell people. You know, if you get in an accident in some place remote, if I'm a few hours off, I want somebody to come looking for me.
Right.
But it's important that people know where you're at. You know, check in once a day, twice a day. Yeah, we're running a little behind. Yeah, this is the city we're in now. Oh, we decided that we wanted to go do this instead. And the good planning that you do ahead of time makes that super easy, because you can just go, this is where we'll be.
Right.
We always tell our kids before we leave where we're going, the site number we're going to be in if we know it,
The
and
phone
where
number.
we're moving next.
The phone number to get a hold of us.
Right. No, it's super important that, and if you're traveling in a group, chances are you might get separated. Agree on a plan that you're going to stop every 2 hours. you know, it's always good to stretch your legs, take a bio break, and maybe grab a bite to eat or something. But agree as a group that you're going to only, you know, because you always got that one guy that wants to push through. But like when we go out to Wallowa or Leavenworth or one of those long trips, we all just come up with an agreement that we're going to stop. We're going to stop at this rest stop, or we're going to stop in La Grande and go to Walmart, you know, or whatever. But, and then, like Tom said, notify people when you change your plan, because that makes all the difference in the world. When we went on our trip this last summer, by the time we got to Missouri, we had changed our entire back half itinerary. We canceled all of our reservations, and we were kind of shooting from the hip. And so as we made those reservations and we're moving through our plan, the new plan, we were letting people know we had the tire problems. So we overnighted in Missoula in a parking lot. Not part of our plan. But we called and said, hey, we're going to be an extra, you know, day, or we're going to be a day sooner. And so it's super important. So there's 5 things that you might not think about, but you should consider when you're planning your next trip or future trips in your RV. And we hope that you got something out of that video. After all, the whole point of our channel is to help you get the most out of your RV experience. Hey, if you've got great ideas, drop them in that comment section below. We love to read them. We love to hear what you have to think, and we respond to every single comment. Hey, if you like the video, make sure that you click that thumbs up button, give us a like. Most importantly, share the video with a friend. We know you have one. And watch the videos that's going to be popping up right over the ladies here. And we will see you in the next video. And thank you guys for playing along.
Thanks for a great week.
Thank you.